Today we're featuring Connor. Now, Connor is at the cutting edge of cold email technology, and he is a true salesman by heart. He is doing some really amazing stuff with automating cold emails using AI and tons of other things. So, without further ado, let's have a talk with Connor. Hey, Connor, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing today, bro?
Doing amazing. Anytime I'm in the office, there's just so much good energy in here. You guys are working on some cool stuff. It's always great to be with the team.
Yeah, well, I love having you here, man. I definitely do. So, man, you went from door knocking, doing sales in the cold Canadian winters. Oh my God, I can't believe that. To leading giant sales operations. Take us back to the good old days. Why did you jump into sales, bro?
For sure. Originally, I didn't really have any other idea how to make money. Pretty much, I was going door to door, wanting to clean cars, and I couldn't even get a job because I wasn't even old enough. In Canada, you have to be 15 years old to get a job, and I started knocking on doors at 13, just trying
at 13 years old?
Yeah.
You were knocking on doors to clean cars?
Yeah, me and one of my good buddies, Amon, we were doing it, and we just made a few thousand, and at 13.
A few thousand?
A few.
At 13? That's like some hella money at 13 years old, bro.
It was all right, but just got hooked on sales. Had the opportunity to take that into a painting business, and then later into the tech space, and just kind of just flywheeled from there.
Yeah, did you do detailing and all that stuff too?
Oh, yeah.
Cleaning the headlights and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the only jobs that I had that I could just like listen to podcasts and work throughout the day. So it's pretty easy going, pretty chill.
And did you ever get like anxiety walking up to people's doors, getting ready to knock, or no?
Not really. No. I don't know why, but I just like heard, maybe it was like Zig Ziglar, and he was saying that one day, every single no is just like one note, like more no's equal a yes. So I just pretty much knocked on as many doors as I could and just played the volume game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many sales would you get a day, roughly?
2 to 3 booked meetings. Then from those booked meetings, we'd close maybe like one of them.
So you would book meetings first and then close them?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a complicated sales process.
Yeah.
I thought you would just knock on the door and just be like, hey, can I like clean your car in the driveway?
Yeah, I think a big part of it too is just like as we were like in the motion of like knocking on doors, we say, hey, can we just come back in like an hour? Like, are you gonna be at home? Are you gonna be like eating dinner? Are you gonna be like having lunch if we're knocking on doors on the weekend? And we just try and like batch all the sales like at the end of the day. So that's just the process that we had. In hindsight, is the most efficient. I don't know.
Okay.
But also almost let the prospect expect that we're coming back for a sales meeting, and because of that, they knew that if they're saying yes to a meeting, they might be more open to paying at that future meeting instead of just like not knowing who you are at the spot, but they just kind of got ready for a sales meeting and kind of.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
and did you ever have any no-shows on that?
It'd be low, like under 10%, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because we're knocking on doors, like in Canada. That's where I'm originally from, in Ottawa.
Yeah.
We're probably knocking on doors around like 4 to 6 p.m. And if we say, hey, we're going to go come back at like 7 p.m., typically people are just finishing up dinner. Canadians eat pretty early, like around like 6:30.
So about 2 hours of knocking on doors, you got 3 meetings and 1 sale, roughly?
Yeah. We just
so you did like 1 car a day?
We do a lot of the work on the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how much did you charge for a car, bro?
I don't know. We had 3 packages. We had like a gold, we had a silver, and then we also had like a platinum. And I don't know, it probably started at like $100. Would go up to like $200.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty reasonable. It's also in like Canadian currency that smells like maple syrup. So it's not like it's like US dollars or anything. Canadian currency is always like a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, still, man. I mean, for 13 years old, I mean, that's some good money, bro.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, I remember when I was working, when I was young, my mom would pay me like $20 to do something small, and it would take me like 2-3 hours to do that thing. So
no kidding. You
were definitely killing it at that age.
For sure.
So what skills do you think that you learned in that time that have helped you to your business journey today?
Definitely the persistence part. Just getting told no, like again and again and again. It really just takes the emotion out of the sales and lead generation process. Like at the end of the day, yeah. At the end of the day, like lead gen sales, oftentimes it is a numbers game. And if you know exactly, what your ratios are at like each step of the funnel, you just have to like put as much throughput as possible.
Yeah. Have you ever done cold calls before?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell me about that.
I don't know. It's for a company in the e-com space. They're a SaaS provider, and we're doing cold calls to e-com people because oftentimes e-com is just one of the industries that absolutely get smoked from cold email. And to really cut through the noise, oftentimes e-com managers of D2C brands that are doing like 100K a month that are based in the US, they pick up phone calls because they're just getting swamped in their email inboxes. So cold calls is one of the ways that we're able to actually cut through the noise. And done probably well over 100,000 phone calls.
Wow. In the span of how much time roughly?
Maybe like year and a half.
Year and a half?
Yeah.
Were you doing power dialing or just one-to-one?
Did power dialing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like that more or less?
It works. The only downside is like when you get connected to two people at the same time, it's a little bit iffy. Like it'll just hang up on one of them, and then there's always like the weird connection period because it's calling through like 5 numbers at a time, and when someone picks up, the software that we are using has to connect you to the end dialer or the end prospect. So there's always like 2 to 3 seconds where the prospect doesn't really know like who's on the line, and it's just a little bit
kind of weird,
ambiguous. Yeah.
So do you think that a non-power dialer is more effective in terms of close percentage, in terms of like landing meetings, or nah? I mean, it's a volume game, right? But outside of the volume, if you had like a small TAM, would you throw out the power dialer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, like if you're doing, like if you had a list of accounts, like let's just say you're a BDR, you have like 200 accounts in your name, and you know exactly that you have maybe 300 people from those 200 accounts. You might have like 2 people at the same company, for example. You'd have all your research, you'd have all their numbers, you'd have like an action plan to go into every single call because you did a lot of research on them, you know who they are. And like if you're selling probably like mid-market enterprise like level companies or contracts, then doing it like one at a time would definitely be more effective.
More effective.
Yeah, but if you're reaching out to e-com people and your TAM is absolutely massive, again, you can play the numbers game on that.
Interesting. And so how quick do you have to be? I mean, so you got like 2-3 seconds, you connect with somebody. What do you see on screen, and what's the first thing you say?
Hey, first name. Reason why I was calling is because we had like a pitch that we had. There's different intros, but normally what we wanted to do is just hit the first like 5 to like 10 seconds out of the park, get the person to say yes. So like you give them an opportunity to say yes, like that's me. You say, hey, like, is it Austin? Yeah. Hey, how's it going? It's Connor calling from like Leveraged, for example. How have you been? Right? That's kind of like my route that I went.
Yeah.
So like, hey, how have you been? Kind of like breaks through the noise, makes the prospect like sit on their ass a little bit, and think like, hey, did I actually like talk to this guy like 2 months ago? And then the moment like while you put them on their ass, you kind of just say, hey, so the reason why I'm giving you a shout again is I'm calling for this reason.
Think that you've already talked.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a little bit greasy, but
maybe
it worked.
Yeah,
it was effective.
That's good. So how many connects did you usually land at a meeting?
300 calls, maybe.
300 calls, but I mean, is that a connect?
No, a connect would probably be like, I think 2%, 2 to 3%.
2-3% of the 300 is connecting. So that's what, like 6 calls, 8 calls?
Yeah, or like you'd actually get on the line with the actual prospect, and then from there, if you are between 15 to like 30% of actually converting your meetings, then you're good. Yeah, I don't know if like this is like super niche too, but one thing I always did is the moment that the prospect would say yes at the end of the call, I would just send over a calendar invite and say, hey, like, yeah, Austin, like, sometimes like Google, Microsoft, like they just like don't like my emails. Are you just able to check your email just to make sure that you got it? So then like live on the call, they confirm the meeting, and it's like, that's just positive reinforcement for them to show up to the meeting as well.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if that's like another greasy trick, but.
No, I don't think that's too greasy. I do that in all my sales calls. If there's a follow-up call, I'll make sure that the guy accepts the meeting and confirms it before I jump off the call. Because I know that some people just kind of fall off track. That does happen. Man, that's crazy. So when did you start noticing this huge transition into automation stuff? Because like now you're doing a bunch of automations with AI and cold email and stuff. I know that's kind of relatively new, maybe not so new anymore, but when did you notice the transition into that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it really came about when I was like a BDR, initially working at a couple of tech companies that I was at. Our target would be to send 30, 40 emails a day. And then I had friends, like a lot of my friends, they run businesses. They're saying like, yeah, I'm sending like 1,000, 2,000 emails a day. I'm like, you're doing like, what is that? Like 100 times the output or 50 times the output that I'm doing. It's all automated.
Oh, you were doing manual emails?
Yeah, I was doing manually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I even had to do like custom like functions in Google Sheets just so I could like copy the first name, attach it to the body. Then like you copy like another cell, put into like Outreach, like the sequencer that we were using. And it was just a very manual process.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
Year and a half, 2 years.
2 years ago.
Maybe, actually no, way more. 2.5 years ago. Time's flying these days. Yes.
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. Yeah.
And then when AI first came out, were you one of the first early adopters in using that with cold emails?
Not using it on cold email, no. I was using it recreationally.
Okay.
And then in terms of using it with cold emails, I'd say it's probably been about, initially I was just using it inside of
Still
Google
kind of
Sheets.
an early adopter, because most people I think started about 2 years ago and a little bit more. So I mean, you were like 6 months into the email thing when you jumped in, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It was,
Yeah.
had like an app script to like, you had like, hey, equals ChatGPT, and then you'd be able to like customize your first lines for emails. I was using instantly.
And was that like a huge boost all of a sudden when you started using it?
Yeah, I noticed significant like increases in positive response rates.
Yeah. How about now?
Reason for the hesitation there is I'm thinking that because everyone has the tool now of like using AI for emails, it pretty much dulled everyone's like outreach. So now like if you're not personalized, you're really not standing outside of the crowd anymore.
But you can use AI to personalize too.
Yeah, you can.
How many people do you think are doing that? A good amount or not so many?
I still think a good amount are.
Yeah, so it's gotten more challenging lately.
Yeah, especially deliverability as well.
So what are you doing to make sure that your emails land and to get the initial meeting? What changes have you made now that everybody's on the AI train to kind of stand out?
Yeah, for sure. One thing I learned from our common friend Mike is if we personalize based on, let's just say LinkedIn profiles, we scrape their profiles and then we say, hey John, I noticed that you went to like New York University, for example. I don't even know if that's a university. I think it might be, right? No one really cares. But what Mike meant, or what Mike taught me, is saying you could personalize based on the way that you pull the list. So let's just say that you pull a list of, you're looking for people with traffic between 10,000 site visits a month and 20,000 site visits a month. In your copy, you could actually say, hey, thought that you might be a company that does between 10 and like 20K site visits a month. And then you have a connecting sentence that follows. Because of that, I have this offer. So a lot of the time, my personalization is always based on the way that I pull the list, because it's like that's actually, it provides relevance to a lot of the emails.
Yeah, you're hitting the right people at the right time. You already know they're qualified, so it kind of hits them a little bit better than other people.
Yeah, and people even like stack those type of things. Like they say, hey, if you have, your site might be between 10,000 and like 20,000 site visits a month, and you're a growing company as well, what challenges might happen because of that? And then in the connecting sentence, you just go into your offer as well.
Interesting.
So, yeah, you could stack them.
Nice. And do you do any links in the first email or
No.
second email, or no emails?
No links.
No links,
No.
ever.
I don't. I normally just,
So how do you schedule the meetings?
I'm a little bit cheeky with it in the first emails. Like in the first email I won't, but like in the second email that you normally replies to the first email,
Yeah.
I'll just, Trojan horse it. So it's like the first email gets through the inbox gates, and then my Loom video will typically like follow after that first email.
Your Loom video.
Yeah.
Is it a custom video based on the positive, or is it just a generic video that you send to everybody?
More so like a generic resource video.
And that's for like the industry, right? So
For the offer that I'm running for that campaign.
for the offer.
Yeah, it'll be some sort of like a whimsical like flowchart type of video that just agitates the problem that we're hinting at inside of the email copy. So
for example, like say I need more traffic for my e-com store. We're going back to that example.
yeah, for sure.
What would that Loom video maybe look like?
Yeah, for sure. So with that example, I would try and like agitate the problem as much as possible. I'd like have like an e-com store there, just like as an example, and like I'd have like 4 like boxes next to like, imagine a screenshot of the website or like of a Shopify website.
Yeah.
I'd have the 4 pain points of like an e-com store. One of those would be saying, hey, do you know what? You probably have a lot of cart abandonment, for example. Number 2 is you don't have the right emails for your audience.
So it's like a free audit almost, but it's a generic one that
Yeah.
could apply to a massive amount of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. And that's your lead magnet?
I lead with that just to provide value, because oftentimes what I see is everyone's asking for meetings, for time with like our prospects that we reach out to. I typically like to try and get a little bit of FaceTime even before I ask for a meeting. Because if I send them the video, they watch it, typically it's going to be between like 60 and 120 seconds. Then if they watch the video, it's super short, then they have a higher likelihood to actually show up to the meeting. And they're a little bit more...
Because they're invested, right?
Yeah, they're a little bit more invested. They're a little bit more aware. And that's typically what we're doing for clients that we support right now.
And I heard that you do a really interesting campaign involving YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Can you dive a little bit more into that?
Yeah,
or do
for
you
sure.
not want to share that? It's up to you.
No, I can, yeah.
Okay.
So for example, I have a bit of a background just reaching out to e-com brands. So a sample campaign that I was running recently is just reach out to all the types of like agencies, consultants that also want to reach out to e-com brands. And you're just like, hey, like look at the track record I have. I help software companies grow pretty quickly. And I just say, hey, if you want me to show you the exact A to Z process, just watch this YouTube vid. And then I just send them to YouTube, where it just has a complete like A to Z, pretty concise.
Yeah.
I think it's like under 10 minutes, but it just shows them like the tech stack, shows how to do outreach at scale. Because a lot of like agencies,
They don't even
consultants,
understand.
they don't even understand the whole like cold email game.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you have to buy multiple domains, you have to buy multiple email addresses. So yeah, I just try to provide value, and it landed in some contracts, which is nice.
And that's off the second email, off the positive reply?
Yeah. So first email that we're doing for that one is saying, hey, Austin, do you mind if I send you like a bit more information if you're wanting to connect with more ecom founders, right? Super generic, like overview video. People raise their hand, I'll send them like the response with the video.
Yeah.
If I don't hear back from them, I'm just gonna be like, hey, do you know what? Thought this email might have got lost in your inbox. Here's the video anyway. Hope you have a nice day. Cheers. And just personalized to, people that might want to work with ecom founders. So yeah, it worked.
That's good, man. Do you find it to be effective?
Yeah.
I have a couple questions. I guess the
For
next
sure.
question is if you look at traditional SaaS companies or just bigger B2B companies, they have, huge sales teams, SDRs, BDRs. Do you think that a big percentage of them are on this AI train doing the personalization or stuff? Or do you find that they're still lagging behind due to corporate rules or upper management not understanding, or what do you think there?
Yeah, like any new tech, there's always going to be people that lag behind.
Yeah.
Naturally, the industry, like tech, is often more open to trying out technologies sooner than other industries. At least that's been my take.
Yeah.
SaaS often adopts tech faster than finance, for example, than maybe even recruiting.
Yeah.
There's always going to be companies out there that are just slow to adopt like AI tools that actually
Yeah.
help them increase their effectiveness, and then also the amount of volume that they do as well.
And do you think that those guys are being left behind, kind of getting crushed a little bit?
Yeah.
You think that doing AI is the only way forward in terms of cold email stuff?
Like AI is just a subsection of operations, and if a team just knows exactly who's in their market, what kind of messaging works, and they just have like a proven plan that they could just repeat, they just have to follow that plan for themselves. What I find a lot of companies do is they'll just approach their outreach in a very ad hoc manner. So they're just trying complete like random stuff all the time, and they don't actually take the time to take a step back and figure out, okay, what campaigns do we want to test? What angles do we want to test? And that's just been like my experience working
The strategy.
a lot of the strategy piece. And like once you have the strategy, like you could have better operations, and then once you have better operations, then you could like infuse AI into it. AI is just like a small section of like operations, and operations is a small section of like strategy.
So it all comes back to just the initial planning phases.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I guess the people that are like in control of the strategy are people that are typically like a little bit more seasoned, typically maybe further ahead in their career, and maybe they don't have the time or the capacity to learn about the technologies that are out there.
To be able to augment their skills, right?
Perhaps, yeah.
And so what do you think is the difference between somebody who's just doing okay and the pros in the cold email game right now? Like, what differentiates those two people?
I can say what I did when I was just getting started. I wasn't using personalization. My copy was way too long. Reply game wasn't strong either. The pros have everything dialed in. They know exactly what leads they're going to be reaching out to, what offer, what message, what's the time sequence, and they're often very good at converting positive responses and also negative responses into a booked meeting as well.
Okay, so dive a little bit more into that. You get a negative response. Right now is not a good time, for example, or like, I'm not interested. How would you turn that into a positive?
Yeah, for sure. Austin, completely understand you're not interested right now. Would there be a better time for me to reach back to you, or is there anyone at your company that would see this as a priority?
Right.
I mean, it's just like, it's a second follow-up question. You address their concern, you respect them. If you have that response maybe like 20 times, maybe one or two of them might even be able to,
elaborate a little bit as to what the real friction is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a way how to like squeeze the most amount of value from your pipeline.
Got it. But that does not apply to like remove me from this list or unsubscribe.
Yeah,
right?
you want to like respect those.
Just respect
always,
those guys.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys out there, if you want anybody to stop emailing you, just say remove me from the list.
Yeah. Or a pro tip, just report the email as spam, and then
pro tip.
Yeah.
Dude, that's good, but that sucks, man, because deliverability is a huge issue right now, man.
Yeah, so it's like if you report a lot of those emails as spam, I don't want to be the person that like puts this out there, but you're just impacting domains from sending emails. So you could do both, maybe report them as spam
and
unsubscribe. But yeah, I don't know if that's a bad joke.
So let's dive a little bit more into the deliverability thing, man.
Cool.
So it's a huge problem right now. Do you want to elaborate why that is a huge problem and what's currently happening to cause this problem?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not the best person to chat about the deliverability. I mean, I could give like an overview of what's happening, but at the beginning of this year, Google updated their sender guidelines.
Yeah.
So before, there was a certain amount of, I think it might have been like 3 emails marked as spam for every single 1,000 emails going out. Again, these numbers might be, they may not be the most accurate, but then, so yeah, what happened was they made a change earlier this year where the amount of tolerance that they had for spam emails just went down. So now if one email for every single 1,000 emails, like it's marked as spam, it jeopardizes.
That's very low.
It's very low, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means that every single person's email has to be on point, has to be going to the right person. Accidents that, let's just say that you mix up the first names with their email addresses. If you have a campaign that goes out, you could pretty much fry your entire infrastructure.
Yeah. So do you think that this is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's good.
You think it's going to separate the big boys from the...
Yeah, 100%. In the future, people that actually know what they're doing will get, their messages looked at, because there's going to be fewer, and when there's fewer emails in the prospect's inbox, and yours is one of them, you'll just get more attention. And because you have more attention, you'll be able to get more replies, and from those replies, you'll be able to get more booked meetings.
Yeah. So what steps have you taken to combat this deliverability problem?
So right now, I don't set up emails myself. I have certain vendors that I work with, and I work with 3 of them right now. And pretty much, I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket for sending for my email infrastructure. So I just split it up among 3 vendors, and I keep my sending volume low for each email account that I use, every single domain. So I try and fly underneath the radar because I'm sending.
What is low volume? Because before it was 50, now I'm hearing 25. Some people do 20. What is your definition of low volume?
So I don't send more than 15 campaign emails per 15 campaign emails.
Wow, that's even lower.
It's pretty low, yeah. Some people in the space, what they're doing too is they're swapping out their infras. So they'll have imagine you have 2 pairs of shoes, for example.
Yeah.
They'll wear the first pair of shoes for, again, pairs of shoes would just be email accounts and email domains that are being used for outreach. But they'll use the first pair of shoes for the first 2 weeks of the month, and then they'll just change shoes. They'll change their infras.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what some people are doing, even to say one step ahead of the email infrastructure.
We were doing that for a little bit too. Yeah. We would put some on warming while others were doing outreach and vice versa and swap them out. Yeah.
For sure.
So do you think email warming is still useful, or do you not do it anymore? Because some people don't.
I do it. Yeah, I use it instantly.
Yeah. Is that the only one you use?
Use Email Bison a little bit.
Smart leads, no?
No, I really
Yeah.
got like hooked onto Smartly.
No.
It's good. I think it has like a bit more of a robust API than
Yeah.
Instantly. You just haven't used it too much.
Got it. And do you think that deliverability also is determined by which sequencer you're using?
It could. I haven't done the test to dive deep into like exactly which sequencer impacts deliverability the most. I know that Instantly and Email Bison work to get replies, and if they weren't, I wouldn't be using them. But yeah, it's probably something that I could probably look into.
So you mentioned 15 emails per email account.
Yeah.
How many email accounts per domain?
2.
2.
Yeah.
And then out of that, what are you scaling that up for your clients? Do you have them on like, I don't know, 1,000 emails a day or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We typically start them out at like 200 emails a day, and then every single business day we'll increase them to like 200. And then like after a period of like 2 weeks of like actually sending campaign volumes, they're sending like 1,000 emails a day.
Yeah. And off those 1,000 emails, roughly, what do you see as like a positive reply rate?
Like 2 to 5%. I don't know if it's good. There's people out there that
that do a lot higher.
have like 11%, 15%, but like
15, 16. We had one that was 16%. Yeah.
it's like really good. The thing that I've realized about like email sending and like reply rates is typically you'll get a higher reply rate for the smaller the list because it's just ultra personalized typically.
Yep.
So if you have an evergreen campaign where you could just dump like 10,000 emails into, like 50,000 emails into, and you're just able to get like 2 to 5% on that, like it's decent.
Yeah.
I'd almost love to get like a 11 to 15% reply rate on like an evergreen campaign where you just have like 50,000 leads. It'd be amazing.
I mean, evergreen would be the dream, right? I feel like most things go stale after a while, though. You have to pivot.
Yeah.
Things that worked 3 months ago, they're not going to work today. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So, I always try to end the podcast with a fun question.
Hit me.
So, what is the thing you love most about Canada?
Oof, my family's there.
Okay, I mean, outside your family. I mean, Canada itself.
Okay, air quality there is very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
Didn't expect that one, but that's awesome. It makes sense. A lot of trees.
Lots of trees.
Yeah.
For example, I have a brother that lives in Arizona, and whenever he comes to Ottawa, like the city that I'm from, he always just comments about the air, and I do miss it now that I've been in Argentina for a little bit now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, how can people find you and your services, man?
Yeah, for sure. So website is leveragedoperations.com. It's leveraged with a D. And then on YouTube, it's Connor Kaplan.
Beautiful, man.
Sweet.
Well, I appreciate you coming out to the office and joining the podcast, dude.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right.
See you next time. Ciao.